We'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the wind blows and the rain is pouring. It will always be Christmas in my heart. But this year I wanna hang out with my friends and family, making angels in the sand. You ready? Doesn't matter, it is Christmas in my heart.
Get a fork, get a fork, get a fork.
Besh, watch all the wires because you're very prone to tripping over them. And you'll be clogged tonight. Alright, can we see both of us in the shot?
Yes. You give me a kiss.
But I only put lipstick on you.
It's okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Hello everyone, welcome back to VLOGMAS.
Hello.
Today we thought we'd sit down and do a little mukbang for you.
For cheesy, for cheesy.
We ordered some Thai food, which I'm very excited about. I haven't had Thai food in a very long time. Both got a glass of lemonade.
Ting.
And you guys have sent us in some dilemmas too for us to chat about.
Whilst
So
we eat our
we have some
spring rolls.
which look so good. These crispy spring rolls.
Yummy, yummy.
Unreal.
Rice.
One egg fried rice and
Oh, that's coconut rice. That's nice. Yummy.
yeah, this is mine. Egg fried rice. Ooh, damn. This is your green Thai. There you go.
Amazing.
And I got Panang,
Panang.
which someone down the stream told me to get. So I did. Let's get a sniff.
That smells yummy.
That does smell unreal.
Smells good, doesn't it?
This little sauce is for that. This has aubergines, prawns, and some other little bits and bobs in.
Yeah, mine's prawn one.
Yeah, mine's prawn too. And it's got peas, aubergine, and spinach. It smells really good, to be fair. Smell. Get a sniff.
That smells
Smells
good.
really good. So, should we try these?
Good idea.
A little bit of sweet chili with it. I think it's, yeah, it's definitely sweet chili.
Sweet. Sweet. Like cocoa.
They're super tasty,
What
aren't
rolls
they? Vegetable. Super tasty though, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, they're actually so tasty. Right, I'm gonna get my rice out. Pour some of my curry on. Do you know what I really like about Thai food in comparison to like Chinese, for instance?
What?
Their portion control. And I know it's like value for money when you get Chinese, like you get so much rice. But for me, really, there's so much rice there, I'm gonna try to eat it. So it's quite nice to have like a properly portioned meal. Do you know what I mean? Look at all these vegetables as well in mine. Right, I've not put it all on the plate yet. What's yours saying? Tasty, is it?
Yeah. I'm try it.
Yeah, I want to try mine first though. I have a little prawn. That is super tasty.
You in that white top though.
I didn't even cook that.
Asking for trouble.
Yeah, it actually is. Take some of the vegetables.
Good, right?
That's spicy.
Yeah, it's a little bit spicy, yeah.
Taste mine.
Yours not spicy?
No, not at all.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah,
Tasty, but yeah, very, very mild.
it's so mild. That's what I wanted though. So let's get some of the
Dilemmas.
I just said send any dilemmas, questions, anything our way. The first one is, how do you get your partner to acknowledge your emotional needs? Now, emotional needs is something I'm quite an expert in, but I have quite a lot of them. Dan and I have very different emotional needs.
Definitely.
Very different. And I think the best way to get your partner to acknowledge them is to be blatant.
Yeah.
I need you to do this.
Yeah.
Can you do this for me? And I think the best thing for me personally to learn is that emotional needs also take away from the other person. Sometimes when you need something, I can't give it to you at that moment.
Yeah.
And you have to be accepting of the fact that your partner might not be able to give that emotional support that you need at that specific time. But being respectful is very key. So like, I can't help you right now. I do care about you, but I can't help you right now. With
that specific thing.
Yeah. Maybe in a couple of hours or later or tomorrow or next week, or do you know what I mean? It might be a different story, but at this point, it's not something I can help with. But I think the best advice that I'd give to anyone about that is to be blatant and be completely upfront.
I think that's something that's perhaps not said enough. That
it's not at all.
It's kind of weirdly suggested or expected that the person that you end up with should know and would automatically know. Should know what presents you want, should know this, should know that. Know everything about you already. Like, you shouldn't have, if it's a good relationship, you shouldn't have to ask, or you shouldn't have to I ask Dan things all the time. Ultimately. And so do you. Yeah. Well, but I think that's necessary. Like, if you genuinely want to be fulfilled in your relationship, I think it's important that you at least give the person that you're dating the opportunity to fulfill you in that way. I think it comes from an ego thing. People don't want to. They don't want to ask. They just want it to be a thing. And I just don't think it's realistic to assume that. Because the thing is, as well, is people change and your needs change too. Yeah, true. So you can't assume that your partner will just know. Yeah. Like, that's just mad that you would assume that. So yeah, I guess the answer is be obvious and explain. Literally ask. It's very different for your partner to not be emotionally supportive on purpose. Also, be aware that you need to know exactly what you actually need first before you go to them and say, you're not helping me. Yeah. What do you need them to do? Instead of going to them and saying, you're not helping, I need you to do this. Is that something you can help me with? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Very straightforward communication. Yeah. That's how we work. It works. Big up to Gucci Gang. Facts. This aubergine is really tasty. Oh, is that what it is? It's kind of funny, like a plum. Like a plum? Yeah, it does. It's kind of nice though. Okay. All my friends are in relationships and I'm freaking out that I am 25 and I've never had a relationship. It's hard to compare, but help. But one thing that is really important for me to always remind myself of, and I feel like I remind myself of this on a daily basis, is your own timing is your own timing. Yeah. Like, it's very easy. You specifically need to be reminded of that because you do beat yourself up. But it's very easy, especially with social media and the way the world is set up now, to watch other people, especially their successes. Obviously, their failures and the things that their shortcomings are based on aren't published, shown to everyone. People don't usually talk about it after the fact. Yeah, so you don't see that in real time, but what you do see in real time is they just bought a house, they just bought a car, they just got married. But you don't know that maybe, you know what I mean? Like, they might have 100 grand's worth of debt. They might have, like, do you know what I mean? There's so many things behind the scenes that you might not know from the outside, an Instagram from picture. The outside. Yeah, so just, I know what you're saying, that all your friends have are in long-term relationships. We know people who've been in long-term relationships for like 6-7 years plus, and then they end up single. So, like, even the fact that they're in a relationship now doesn't necessarily mean that every one of your friends that is in a relationship is going to end up married to the person that they're in a relationship with. So try not to... Trust your own timing. Yeah, trust your own timing. Just because you're 25 and you never had a relationship, you may not settle down until you're 34, 35. But you might be in the best relationship you've ever seen in your life, and it's your and you stay with that person permanently, and that's your life. So it's very difficult to look at real time and be like, I don't have this now, and look at what do I do? And look at other people and be like, they've got this now, I want it now, and I get that, and it's really tricky. I get that too, because I do the same thing, especially a lot of my friends are buying houses, like buying fancy cars, and I feel like I've kind of didn't really take money seriously and didn't really have my head really screwed on like that when I was younger, and I have to also remind myself that I'm only 24. Like, I'm doing really well. Like, there's a lot of things that I've achieved that I never thought I'd be able to achieve. And yeah, I think that's really important to kind of trust your own timing and not compare. I know it's super hard not to compare. I do too, and I think everyone does it. It's natural. It's a natural human instinct to compare. but do try and remind yourself that you don't all have to be on the same page in every area of your life. It just doesn't work like that. It's not realistic to even expect that.
The thing is as well, is if you think about it like you just said, there's a lot of people who everyone around you's in relationships. They might end up divorced by the time you find your dream partner who you're with forever.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in a situation where I'm not in a relationship and then I find my dream partner and we're together forever than be with someone since you're younger, be together for years and then get divorced.
The thing with relationships as well is they're so specific to each individual.
Yeah,
like
true.
There's people who literally get married, have children, and then together for 25 years, who then get divorced. That happens also. And
relationships are
so don't beat yourself up about not being in one or not having a serious one. I know it must be really difficult, especially if your friends around you.
Everyone around you is kind of like seems like all loved up and stuff.
Yeah, it must be really tricky. But yeah, don't beat yourself up about it. Trust your own timing.
And don't let that kind of affect how you feel about yourself, because that's not a reflection on you as a person, or do you know what I mean? That's not a complete reflection. It just is what it is.
For true.
This was such a good shower.
Yeah, Thai food.
So much lighter and less greasy than Chinese food as well. So tasty. Okay.
I'm just glad we didn't have to cook.
Huh?
I'm just glad we didn't have to cook.
Thanks. Okay. Changed jobs a lot over the last few years, and now I have a good job, but I still don't feel fulfilled. What do I do?
That's an interesting one.
I think this is more for you than for
Really,
me.
why? Because I've had a normal job before.
I've also had a normal job, but only when I was 18. I wouldn't say, not in my proper adult life.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, really.
I'd say it's interesting that you say that despite the fact that you've got the job, or the good job, in inverted comments, that you're not fulfilled, because a lot of people, I wouldn't say only most people, I would say it probably is almost most, don't necessarily find their jobs fulfilling.
I'd say if you look at the UK and all the amount of jobs that everyone has, I'd say that's probably true.
Yeah, most people do jobs that they don't hate, but they have to love. They don't necessarily love their job, and they don't necessarily get a lot of fulfillment unless they've
got to feed their kids, pay the bills.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? There's requirements, and there's the things that need to get paid for, and lifestyles that need to be paid for, and that's really the major reason for having a job for most people. Fortunately, there are many people who find a passion and they enjoy their passion, and their passion is able to pay them. But it's not that common, I would say.
I'd say it's more common now than it has ever been.
Definitely.
But I would agree, it's not super common. I would say
it's not the norm.
If you took 100 people, I would say
98 of them will have.
I'd say probably 10 to 15 of them will have passion projects that they make money from. It might not be their mainstream income, but
they'll get some sort of income.
Yeah,
true. So it's interesting that you say you don't feel fulfilled despite having a good job, because that suggests to me that you're expecting to be fulfilled in getting a good job. But a lot of people don't feel fulfilled necessarily in their working life, but they find fulfillment elsewhere, like you said, in passion projects, or they find fulfillment in raising a family.
For me, I would literally say find a passion project.
Yeah.
And I think...
And leave your job as your job. Like, it's just amazing that you've got a great job. That's sick. That's something that...
That's amazing. A lot of people dream of.
Yeah, a lot of people dream of in itself. And it's amazing that you've been able to do that. So don't...
A lot of people never get to achieve that. So that's a massive achievement.
So I'm definitely not downplaying that. It's amazing that you've achieved that. It's great that you've got that. Appreciate it. But don't rely on it for your fulfillment in life in general, I guess, because there's so many other areas of life where you can feel fulfilled. You
can turn your job into a fulfillment as well. It's not impossible.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm really blessed that I get a lot of fulfillment from my job, and it's weird. The weirdest thing is, I always feel almost like a bit of a fake when people ask me what my job is, because it doesn't feel like a job.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does, don't get me wrong. Like, there's obviously peaks and troughs, but I would say 85% of the time, my job is so much fun. I don't ever feel like, oh, I wish I had a different job, or I wish I could do this, or I wish I could do that. I love what I do.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. I think it's really rare. So I understand that. However, I am aware that it's not impossible to change your life around.
Yeah.
And completely turn your life trajectory somewhere else.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the most important thing for me personally in life, period, is to find what fulfills you. To have a fulfilling life is the most important thing, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
And I think if you can find what that is, then, you know, bingo.
On the side, because I presume the fact that you said it's a good job.
So well paid.
It's well paid, I would assume. And if that's the case, then again, that's not something that everyone is able to achieve. Having a well-paid job that perhaps you expected to be fulfilling in itself.
Because it was well paid,
Because it was well paid, maybe, but
yeah,
that's not always the way it goes. It's nice when it is, but it's not always the way it goes. But if you're being paid something that you feel is reasonable and you're happy with your pay, try and find that happiness and fulfillment in somewhere else, a hobby or
don't put yourself in
elsewhere.
like jeopardy by leaving your job and getting a passion project.
I wouldn't recommend that at all. Chasing your passion is nice, but it's an ideal and it's not practical for everyone.
But if you are the type of person that likes to take risks, I will always encourage people to take risks. I feel like success and fulfillment won't come from being safe, personally. So I would say if it's something that can make you a little bit of income and it has the potential to make you more income, I would literally just say take the leap, quit your job, pursue your passion project. The worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work out and you have to go back to your job or go back to a different job. Do you know what I mean? I understand if you have different responsibilities like children and stuff, that kind of thing, other variables makes that specific thing more difficult. And I understand also that conceptually it's easy. Practice is a lot more difficult.
I would not say to do that, by the way.
But it's just...
You've got two sides there.
Yeah. And I think that, I don't know, in life, I just say always take risks. Because I feel like the most happiness that I've ever gained has come from being a little bit risky. Or at least there being risk involved.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's quite long-winded, but there you go.
Thanks for that question. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, really interesting. Me and my partner live together, but we don't do anything for us anymore.
That's interesting. I feel like that's something that's maybe...
I think that's quite common.
Yeah, I think one, it's quite common. I think it's two, it's not shown. Like, again, with the highlight reel of life, if you're in a relationship, the sort of things that we post, for example, even us, is our intro, for example.
Yeah.
Or you starting the business.
Is my lipstick all crusty?
Slightly on this, both sides, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's a little bit crusty. But, or you launching your brand, or us going to Winter Wonderland together.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things that you see when people are in relationships, and it looks like...
Which is, all of those things are real.
Yeah, they're real and they happen, but
Yeah.
in reality, from week to week, you don't necessarily
We don't do that every day.
Like, we don't eat out every week. It's not something...
We don't eat out often. We used to, actually, quite a lot.
Yeah.
But we don't... This is a big treat for us.
Yeah, we don't even eat takeaway that much anymore.
Yeah.
So I think...
just me fixing my lipstick.
I think it's easy again to feel like you don't do anything anymore, especially when you live together and your world becomes...
Collided.
Sort of, kind of properly intertwined. I guess the mundane things that you used to do on your own, in your own life, in your own world, has now become the mundane things that you do together, unfortunately, like paying the bills and tidying up and taking the bins out. They're not necessarily enjoyable things to do, but they...
When you don't live together, it's like, oh, do you want to come round to mine for dinner?
Yeah,
and I'll cook dinner. Whereas now it's not an event. You just cook dinner, or I cook dinner, and you cook me breakfast, or I cook you breakfast, and it's just something we have to do to get on with the day. It's not necessarily
a treat.
Tick of I don't know, like when you're not in a relationship, oh, do you want to come round and I'll cook you breakfast?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so cute.
Yeah,
but becomes... like we get up together and then I go, oh, do you want some breakfast? You're like, yeah.
And then
do you know what I mean? Then you make the breakfast and then, or you're like, oh, I'm gonna make this. Do you want some? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's
it's a lot less romantic than it is when you're not living together.
It seems, and I guess because we're still fairly young, we're all still fairly young. We're not like 45, been married 15 years, any of us, and I presume you're not the same.
Some people are.
I presume you're the same, that you're not like, in your 50s and been married 15 years plus. I think it's...
I thought you meant the viewer, it's not the questioner.
Yeah, I presume they're not 45 and been married 15 years. They could be.
Some people are.
Yeah, some people are.
My dad definitely is, and he definitely watches this video.
Yeah, but that's my point. He wouldn't necessarily have the view that our generation does of relationships. I feel like the older generation have the fortune of not really having relationships pushed in their face on socials. Of like the
Let me give you a little breakdown of what we do in a day. Like, I just want to make it really, really clear how
we're not that
boring
exciting.
we are.
We're not. We love that you guys keep watching us, but we're not that excited.
We often have conversations being like,
we debate a lot.
we don't know why people watch us. We do debate a lot. I would say on a daily basis we discuss at least one, like, a topical issue or like politics or like we have quite a lot of debates, but on a daily basis we wake up together, we'll have a cuddle in bed, have a little chat about stuff. Like, our mornings are usually quite slow. We have quite slow mornings.
Yeah.
We'll come downstairs. Either Dan will make me a coffee or I'll make a coffee. You've been making me coffee recently and it's been so banging, to be fair. And then Dan likes croissants for breakfast and I like to make him breakfast, so I'll make him breakfast. To be fair, you make me breakfast and I make you breakfast. It's a bit backwards, but I guess that's something that we both appreciate.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to make my own breakfast. You don't want to make your own breakfast, but we don't mind making each other's. So that's something that we do. But after that, I'll sort my lunch, you sort your lunch, unless I'm like making something.
Figure out what we're filming for the day.
Figure out what we're filming, edit it. Well, maybe play some Fortnite in the evening.
We're very fortunate that we get to spend so much time together as a couple, because I appreciate when I was working for the short time that I was as well, we really didn't get to spend much time together.
We didn't like it, did
so
we?
I imagine,
we were actually like, this is so rubbish. You don't even get to see each other.
So I imagine if both of you are working and full-time employed, it's even more difficult, because in reality, you might wake up together, but you won't really get any of the cuddles or conversations that you have leisurely in the mornings like you might do on a weekend, for example. But during the week, that is an absolute myth. You've got to get up, you've got things to do, you've got somewhere to go. And then by the time you get home in the evenings, by the time the evening comes around, you've got
get home, have dinner,
maybe watch your one show on Netflix that you like, and then that's straight to bed, get up to the next day to do it all over again. So I'd imagine that doing that day in, day out would really start to feel like you don't have any fun things that you do.
Yeah.
And come the weekend, the last thing you want to do is like getting dragged around the shops or go.
But I would say that's when it's important, though. Do you know what I mean? That's when it is important to really make time for your partner.
Yeah.
Because I think when you don't have loads of time, like even at the moment, we don't have a lot of time. We spend a lot of time together, but we don't have a lot of time for each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's when when we do have time, that's when it's important to go, hey, let's do this.
Yeah.
And I think even little things like making each other breakfast in the morning is very much like an act of service every day.
Yeah.
That we get to do for each other, which is really nice. But yeah, I would say have a conversation with your partner.
Yeah, he may feel the exact same way.
Yeah, exactly. And if he doesn't, don't take it personally. Like, oh my god, he doesn't care about me. There's probably a lot going on, and men tend to be a little bit more absent-minded. And I don't mean absent-minded in the sense that they're stupid. I mean absent-minded in terms of emotions. They're not as emotionally intuitive as women. Typically. No, that's a
generalisation.
Yeah, but it tends to be somewhat bang on. So do you not think those prawns are really meaty? Like, they're really big prawns. They weren't like little
prawns.
Yeah, like proper king prawns though. Like, yeah, just really tasty. So yeah, that's what I would say, and I'd say just definitely make a conversation of it. Do you know what I mean?
For easy, for sure. Hopefully that helped.
Yeah, I feel like this is really rambly, but people seem to like rambly stuff. A little bit of something. Some yellow.
Bit of fluff. Bit of foof.
I've been speaking to a boy for almost a year. He lives a long way away. We haven't met because of COVID, etc. I wanted to go somewhere, but this is all so strange. It's a sticky one still.
Yeah, very. I mean, it's a long time. I appreciate, obviously, the world is a very weird place at the moment. And
how long is a long way?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Is it different country or is it like different town?
Do you know what I mean?
But yeah, a year is a very long time to be speaking to someone, and when you say talking, like I presume there's not
How serious is it?
There's not really any commitment on either side.
This thing is really solid at the skin. Sorry. Carry on.
Yeah, there's not really any commitment on either side, which could be fine, but I guess again it's tricky because people are people. Some people like to take things really, really slow, but I guess for me, if I was personally in that situation, I'd certainly be wondering whether or not I was wasting my time after 1 year. Is this exclusive? Like, it's very tricky because you've not given us too much information there.
Yeah, but, talking is quite
it's a very loose term. Like, is that talking entertaining other people as well? Are you just talking as friends? I presume there's.
I presume it's romantic because otherwise she wouldn't ask.
Yeah, I presume so. But also, is it romantic on both sides, and is it clear that it's romantic on both sides?
Do you know what the maddest thing is? It all comes down to communication. Every single situation comes down to clear communication.
Yeah.
And I feel like we are very good at telling each other when our communication isn't clear.
Yeah.
You didn't articulate that very well.
Yeah.
You didn't say that in a way that I can understand it.
Yeah.
So please can you rephrase it?
Yeah, and I think we do that well, and I feel like most times, I'm maybe not always that way, but I receive it quite well when I'm told that my communication is poor. The reason I say that
I'd say 9 times out of 10. I can't think of a time off the top of my head where you've rejected the idea that your communication wasn't very good.
Because ultimately, when you're speaking to someone, the idea is that whatever it is you're saying,
they understand.
So if you're ever communicating in a way where they're saying, I don't quite follow you, your communication is not effective with that person. It may be very effective speaking the exact same way with your friends or your family or whatever. But
if you're trying to get a point across, it's your responsibility
to deliver that point in a way that they can understand you, because ultimately it's going to be beneficial for your relationship.
Yeah, there's no point in trying to say something if
the person you're saying it to doesn't even...
The way that I see it, and it might be a bit dramatic, is like, if I know that you're not going to understand what I'm saying, what's the point in saying it at all? So if what I've said to you, you don't understand, I might as well have just said it in a completely different language.
Different language, yeah.
And that's how communication should be. It should be that effective, that it's completely clear.
It's understood.
And if it's not completely clear, then it's your responsibility to try and
make it clear.
Or as clear as you possibly can make it.
Yeah, I guess...
So I feel like with this situation, they've been speaking for almost a year. I feel like...
Have you communicated the point that you'd like it to go somewhere? Where have you asked where they see it going and things like that? Because I feel like those are really important conversation points and questions.
And don't let that conversation be...
something that doesn't get asked or doesn't have.
No, but don't let it be shut down.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will be like, yeah, but we'll wait till we meet. I'm not waiting any longer. Sorry, I'm not.
Yeah, and even, I guess, I don't know. I feel like ultimately you can't, I don't know. Personally, I don't know 100% unless I've met the person. But I have an idea. I feel like of who the person I'm speaking to is.
Yeah, people are complex though, isn't it? So online, someone can portray themselves, even in a few texts or a few FaceTime calls. I feel like you don't know a person until you live with them, genuinely.
Yeah.
You get to know all their gross habits and all the things you might not like, things that might give you the ick. I feel like we were blessed that we were in a position that we could just move in together and see it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you're going to have to live with them at some stage.
Yeah. And
for me, no time is too early. Because if you wait till you get to know that person, I don't know, I feel like you either will work or you don't. I don't think timing really comes into it. I don't know, maybe that's just my brain. I feel like you can't, I don't know. I feel like if you're not going to work now, what makes you think you're going to work in a year's time living together?
Yeah.
Like, obviously people do change and that's fine, but like, I just don't see that being a different scenario. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are who you are going to be in a year's time anyway, so what's the point in waiting?
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe I'm just quite
You're
impulsive.
like,
so I'm like, yeah, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Like, you want to jump out of plane? Sweet, let's do it now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm quite impulsive, so I feel like that's maybe where my impulsive nature comes. I just jump into things.
Yeah, I do agree though. It's better to. I'm the sort of person that I'd like to meet quickly. I know obviously it wasn't possible with lockdown and stuff,
Yeah.
but ultimately
We met quite quickly. We met
a lot
in
of
like
those
a month.
things. Yeah, we've been speaking for about a month or so. A lot of those things have been relaxed for some time now. So appreciate schedule might have not lined up or whatever, but it's important that you do make an effort to try and see each other. And ultimately, you're not gonna know if it can go anywhere if neither of you have put the effort into actually
Figuring that out
and physically meeting each other.
I also feel like even if it doesn't end up going anywhere and it doesn't work or whatever, don't see it as wasted time.
Yeah.
Because you can learn something from every situation. And I feel like I am the biggest believer in there's lessons in everything.
That's so nice.
What,
try
the
that,
sauce?
Yeah, try that with that.
You're going to give me your last bite?
Yeah. I have it. I know, that's how much I love to do, see.
That's a lot. That's banging.
That's nice, isn't it?
That's so banging.
Roll with that. Real tasty.
Just for a little bit of context. Dan always, with every single food item, leaves the last, like he'll choose a bit probably like at the start or like mid-meal that you want to save till like the very, very last bit.
So
I just got the last bit of your spring roll.
So when I eat something, I'll decide what the tastiest thing is on the plate and I'll leave a bite of it for the very end of my meal. So it's the last thing I eat. And so then when someone comes right at the end of the meal, they're like, oh, let me have that bit. I'm like, what? No. So I've done it before.
Offended, yeah.
Like,
and
really...
then sometimes where I forget and I'm like, oh my God, let me have a bit. And you're like, how dare you ask me that? I'm like, oh my God, sorry, don't worry. Like, I don't want it that much.
I've been saving that bit right from the start of the meal, waiting.
So funny. So yeah, I would say communicate. It's going to be the answer to everything, to be honest. Okay. My boyfriend has a girl best friend, but she's confessed her love and they've slept together before. They're so close, it makes me feel so weird and I hate it.
That is a sticky, tricky one.
It's not. It's very straightforward. Communicate your boundaries. I don't like that you're so close to her. It makes me feel uncomfortable that you've slept together and you still have such a close relationship. How am I supposed to know that that's not going to go any further at any other point?
Yeah.
They've clearly before you guys were together, clearly.
Yeah.
So you have a longer lasting relationship than you and I do. So that needs to be discussed, first of all. Your boundary towards her also needs to be discussed. Is that something that... I think the issue is people are scared to say what they want in case the person says no.
Yeah.
And
but
for
it's
me...
okay for them to say no. It just means that obviously there's no common ground there. That either means you move forward with no common ground being established, which is an option. I think a lot of people forget that...
You can disagree and move
continue
forward.
And move forward.
But with boundaries, it's really important that because that's a boundary, not like a
disagreement.
Yeah. And I think for me personally, if say we were in a similar situation and my boundary was, I don't want you to ever speak to her again, you're allowed to say that. That's not manipulative. That's not bad behaviour. I think a lot of people online are like, that's really controlling.
Yeah, it's not controlling.
And that's not controlling, that's your personal boundary.
Exactly.
You don't feel comfortable with it, and so that's something you don't want to happen. Whether that happens or not is then he rejects it. So say you're like, well, no, she's my friend and I'd like her to be in my life. That's then up to you whether you can deal with that boundary being broken constantly, because he's expressed that he's not going to respect that boundary. And that doesn't mean he's disrespecting you personally. It just means that that's not a boundary he's willing to adhere to.
Yeah.
Which just means that that's then put back into the ball's now in your court. Are you personally willing to put yourself under that stress every time he goes around to see his girl best friend? You're going to feel like crap. Just leave him. That's personally what I'd do. If that boundary can't be assessed and that boundary is so important to you.
Yeah, it depends how important that boundary is to you.
Yeah.
And ultimately, who knows, there could be a compromise. That, yeah, you see her, but she comes to our house or whatever. I don't know if you live together or whatever.
Yeah. Or every time he goes to see her, oh, I'm gonna bring my girlfriend with me.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Okay? Is it okay if I don't know, if you are involved in the friendship? To be fair, we personally, between the two of us, we don't really have any friendships that either of us are excluded from. Not deliberately.
Your friends are my friends and my friends are your friends.
Yeah,
and that's just how it is.
That's just how it is. So it's kind of, and if there's friends of mine that you've not met, it's probably because I don't see them very often. Do you know what I mean?
They're old friends or
school
they're
friends,
more like acquaintances rather than friends. And if there's friends that you haven't met, again, it's because they're older friends, people I don't see often.
Yeah.
It's anyone that we're like meeting up with or like we're going for dinner.
I think that you'd want that really. If you're planning to marry the person and stay with the person long term, and that's you're planning to build a life with this person.
Our lives are very intertwined.
Yeah, anyone that's in your life should.
Any conversation you have, I'm in it. Any conversation I have, you're in it.
Yeah.
Like 9 times out of 10, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I call even my family.
Well, you're a big part of my life. So if I have a friend who's separate from you, then it's kind of, at this stage in my life, it's quite difficult to have a friendship with someone and just have a friendship on my own with them, because you are a big part of my life. So you're going to come up in conversation a lot. And that would be
a bit weird for that not to be a thing.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Yeah, so...
I agree.
I definitely agree that it's a boundary that if you have, it's your responsibility to tell them.
Your boundaries are completely your responsibility, and I think that's also something that's not
said.
Yeah, not articulated very well. And I think your personal boundaries also need to be reasonable with yourself. Like, and what I mean by that is, where do your boundaries come from? Like, you need to assess where your boundaries come from, because for me personally, some of my boundaries come from past traumas. And I think it's very important for you to know that this is a boundary that's not for life, but it's a current boundary that I need to put in place in order to keep...
To feel okay.
Yeah, to keep my own mental health safe, to keep my physical health safe, whatever it is. I think it's really important. You don't need to share why that boundary is there with the other person, but it is important for you to assess why the boundary is there in yourself.
Yeah.
But for this specific situation, I would just say...
that sounds spooky, man. Like, I don't know why... Yeah, I guess... Because I'm trying to think, I have female friends. To be fair, I don't speak to any of them. Like, yeah, but I'm thinking like maybe other people that I would consider friends that I had slept with in the past, but I wouldn't really consider them friends anymore. We don't have a relationship. So, I mean... There's
no one that you're really friends with that I would have cause for concern with.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you were best friends with someone you slept with... I know,
and that's best friends, to be fair. That's proper far. Like, I don't... Yeah.
It's just, it's weird. And I think whilst I'm saying, like, implement boundaries, I'm also aware that's not as straightforward as it's said. Boundaries can be quite difficult to put in place, especially when there's other people involved. So just make sure you keep yourself, safe and you are clear about your boundary before you set it. So don't have
your own head.
Yeah, like, don't come to your boyfriend and go, I never want you to see her again, and he's like, what?
That's unreasonable. And then you go, okay, well, you can see her sometimes, but
that's not the boundary.
Yeah, that's you're not clear on your own boundary, so you can't expect him to be clear on it.
Yeah,
so you kind of need to get straight in your own head first before you approach him with, hey, I'd like A, B, and C to be implemented because it will make me feel far more comfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
you need to know what A, B, and C is first.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So I think that's the best way to kind of explain it is, I feel like boundaries are just such an important topic. We might do something.
I think that's something that, weirdly enough, you find out how to do, as in putting boundaries in place in your 20s, and then you repeatedly do it like every 10. Well, it's frequent as anything, I guess.
Yeah.
But every
as soon as
5
your life
to 10
changed,
years,
I think
there's every big change. There's usually more and more boundaries, but I feel like you don't really find out how to set boundaries or why you need to set boundaries until you're in your 20s. I feel.
I
it's
would
like
agree with that.
Past your teenage years where everything's funny and cool or whatever.
Not that
Nothing
serious.
serious, so
Yeah.
we just do whatever. It doesn't matter. But once you get into your 20s and you get to know yourself, I guess, a little bit better, and you understand what you need and you want.
The main thing.
Yeah, you kind of need to make sure that everyone around you is on the same page as you, or at least aren't going to cross any boundaries that are like off limits for you. And
Yeah.
it's important for you yourself personally to put those in place and make sure everyone around you understands the kind of status quo, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the happiest I've ever been is, and I think when you set a boundary and it's respected, the relief you feel is unmatched. Like with family, with friends, like even if it's not respected and you have to go, okay, I understand that you don't respect my boundary, and it will make you feel a certain way about that person if they continue
and they don't acknowledge the fact that they've just trampled
all over your boundaries that you
discussed with them.
Yeah, that you have
fully aware of.
Yeah, you've made it completely clear what your boundary is, how it will affect you if that boundary is crossed, and that boundary continually gets crossed. I think it says a lot about the person, especially if they do it on purpose.
And that relationship, probably not going to last.
Yeah,
because ultimately they don't respect what it is that you require them to respect. So
yeah,
it's 100% your responsibility to set the rules of engagement in your own life.
And I think another thing to be really clear of is that it might not be super easy for that person. So if you set a boundary and it's like, this will make me feel X, Y, Z if you do X, Y, Z, that thing that you're asking them to do or not to do might be super difficult for them. So I think it's also important to be patient, but also communicate. So I think it's important to be patient, it's important to set boundaries, and it's important that you communicate effectively. And I think that's the 3 main tips from today.
Big facts.
Communication, boundaries, and respect.
Yeah, that stuff.
I think that's a pretty good key.
That stuff.
You think?
Yeah, I agree.
10 out of 10.
100 out of 100.
Wow.
100%.
I'm so full. You?
I feel like that was really tasty.
So tasty, wasn't it?
Yeah, very good Thai food.
So guys, we'll wrap it up there because otherwise this video is going to be like 7 hours long. But if you'd like us to do more videos like this.
Yeah, a little sit down, like mukbang, chatty, question tings.
What's it, agony on type videos? Then
hit us up, let us know if you like it.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments.
We love discussing, like we said.
Yeah, we have chats about this kind of stuff in our private time anyway.
Yeah, so might as well have it and you guys can chime in. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, and if you've got any like add-ons from like what we've said, or if you don't agree with what we've said, write it down below. Like we'll
chat with you guys in the comments and debate,
sure.
Get a little debate going.
Yeah, I love a debate. So yeah, let us know down in the comments. We love you guys so much. Subscribe for more, like this video, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you tomorrow.
Oh yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye.
See ya.
Last year I thought about how things can come around just like that if everyone is here to celebrate one day.